Hey everyone, it is time once again for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. I know I said that I probably wasn't going to have to put the motor in the double cab here again for mock-up, but here we are with the motor in there again for mock-up. And this should for real be the last time. Jeez, I must have had this motor in and out 100 times, but better to get everything mocked up and make sure everything is going to be fitting perfect and look bitchin' and all that stuff, instead of just like ram the motor in there and then have to figure it out. So the main reason that I put it in today was to figure these pups out. So these big ass lines for the air conditioner, and I'm glad that I did, because the length of those lines is preset, and the smaller of the two, so that's this one here, I had to kind of set how much of that I had in the engine compartment based on it reaching the condenser. So yeah, it was good. And then based on the length of that one to reach the condenser, that kind of determined how I routed the other, the big one there, which runs along it, because I wanted them to look nice and neat, which I think they do. Pretty happy with how that looks. So yeah, kind of started at the back of the car and worked my way forward. So let's take a look at underneath the car here and see how I routed all this stuff. So pretty much up and or underneath the torsion housing here, you can see them coming under the torsion housing. There isn't really room to run it over the torsion housing just because there's a lot going on up there. I did run the oil hoses, which are the two hoses that you see here. I ran those over the torsion housing, but the AC lines had to run kind of along the frame. You can see them there going up there towards the heater box, and then under the frame, and just kind of attached them nicely along here. And then this is the one that attaches to the condenser here. So this is the one that really kind of set the length of the line, at least of the lines back in the engine compartment. And then the other one, the bigger one, just kind of runs alongside it, probably hard to see. And it actually goes kind of over the condenser itself here. And then from there, I've got it routing kind of along this frame cross member. And then from there, it runs forward and it goes over the beam. You can see it running over the beam right there. And let me roll along to the front of the vehicle here. So now here you see the two lines running there, and then ultimately, so I put a hole in this little bulkhead piece, a couple holes there in that bulkhead piece with grommets, and run those through, and then ultimately they go into the car there. And then the other line, the smaller of the two, which is this one, that one actually, after it goes through this grommet here, it runs kind of over the top of the beam, and then it comes out right here, makes a jog around the frame, over here. And then that's where it goes through the dryer. So basically from the condenser under the car, the line comes out, runs along the frame up here through the dryer, and then after the dryer runs here, and then that's the one I was just talking about that run kind of along the top of the beam, and then ultimately, again, both of them go into the car. So let's walk over there and see that part. I got a lot of exercise today because since I don't have a lift in the shop here, I was like up and down off that creeper all day. I must have been up and down off that creeper 100 times. But we don't want to put a lift in our shop because it would kind of screw up our room, our space. So we just do it old school style. Anyway, so in the cab, you've got these two lines here. And so you can see the one is actually connected. So that's the smaller of the two. That's the one that runs to the dryer, which is that black thing mounted over there on the outside of the car. The other line actually is too long by like a good 15 or more inches. So you can see it should go to, it should, if I can show here, it should go to this connector right here. And so you can see how much excess there is past that. So I'm not sure why this line is so long, and I did call Sean at Gilmore a couple times, and we talked about it, and I didn't really see any way to cleanly route this line where the length would have come out okay. So I'm not sure if I accidentally sent a line that was too long maybe or what. But Sean at Gilmore Enterprises, being the stand-up guy that he is, he's actually going to send me a portable crimper that he has, where I'll be able to cut this line to the right length and then crimp a new end on it, and it'll be perfect. So yeah, he's taking care of it. He's, like I said, stand-up guy, always willing to talk on the phone as far as tech support, and we went back and forth a few times with pictures and text messages and phone calls about the routing of some of these hoses and stuff. And it is shown pretty well in the manual, but sometimes it's just good to kind of talk to someone about it and ask questions and stuff like that. And again, he's always willing to do that, so appreciate that. But so the lines are basically done now, with the exception of cutting that one to length. So that is pretty much where the air conditioning now is. The only major thing left to do is, other than obviously like charge it and stuff like that, which will come at the very end when we're finishing the car up and want to run the AC. So the main thing left on the AC system now is wiring it, which shouldn't be too bad. So there's a relay, and there's some wiring that goes from the control, which I showed you guys yesterday, over there on the left-hand side of the dash. And then that control, I think, basically like plugs into the under dash unit there, and then it picks up power from the what do you call it? Having a senior moment here, from the fuse box up there, and then the fans underneath the car on that side on the condenser. I think those power get routed up to here also. I haven't really looked at the wiring diagram yet, but and then there needs to be a wire, at least probably just one wire, I think, coming back here that goes onto the compressor itself that tells the compressor to turn on. So yeah, wiring shouldn't take too long on this. I think the hardest part of the whole process so far was really just routing those lines in a way that I was happy with, as far as making them neat and making sure that they weren't going to interfere with any suspension components or shift rods or steering, all that stuff. That was kind of a pain. And it's nothing with the kit per se. It's just figuring out where to route all these lines on a car that wasn't really made to have all these lines routed. You're just like adding a bunch of extra stuff to the car that it didn't come with, and so sometimes it's challenging to figure out where to put things where they're clear of other parts and so on and so forth. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty much my day, was routing those lines and getting all that figured out. And so other than that, what happened here today was Mr. Jacob came in and he finished disassembling the carburetor there, or he disassembled the carburetor there, which is for the blue buggy. Because again, this was the motor was out of a running driving buggy that was the donor for this car. And I think it sat and the gas evaporated in the carburetor, and so it was all gunked up inside. So Jacob went ahead and pulled it apart and got it all cleaned, all spotless on the inside and the outside, and looking brand new. So this thing's pretty much ready to go back on, thanks to Jacob. And so that's what he did, and I already talked about what I did. So I guess for today, that's it, guys. So appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.